Hey, how you doing? Come on in, sit for a spell. We are about to dive into the Mutable Energy Alchemy. And we're going to open up first with a collective read. We're all being influenced by all the different expressions of these elemental groups that come out. When we're looking at the mutable energy, we're of course looking at Sagittarius. Ooh, how did this end up in here? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. That might be a little retrograde action we're looking at there. Directly connected to Sagittarius. I have to say we do got Jupiter retrograde right now from November 11th through March 10th. Okay, quite a long ride with that energy. We'll get into that a little bit. That's going to come in this collective download here. Everybody's really going to be feeling the influence of that one. And then we have, of course, Pisces up in the North Node, and we have Gemini and Virgo, who is in the South Node. And so much mutable energy is retrograde right now during this cycle, and that absolutely is going to be having a big influence in what's rolling out here. So first, I kind of want to get a look at this before I dive into that. Just to open up here, yes, I can see this. Okay, the pot's stirring. We have the cauldron here, cauldron of Dagda. And there's a little bit of magic that's brewing here. There's some synergy, some healing that wants to come in. But there's also something that does need to be alchemized as well in order to head to this point of balance. And I'm seeing the nod to the Ace of Pentacles in the backdrop. And Ace of Pentacles is connected with the spring season. So I do feel we're stirring that pot. You could say widdershins right now. We're doing a little review. And that's going to inform how we set things in motion to call in what will be a future opportunity I see that really takes root in the spring. And when we're looking at those aces, they really are simply an option. Do you want to take the option? Do you want to put your energy into this and invest in this? And it looks like the option that will be put on the table by the time we arrive at the springtime, and actually at the point when we do move out of that Jupiter retrograde energy, will be one for alignment, coming into a place of harmonization with ourselves, with another. There's an opportunity for healing here. So that's what's getting stirring at this point, but there is a need for review. I do feel there's a lot of shadowy elements around this. There's still a lot of unconscious aspects around this that do need to be integrated, brought up to the surface of the awareness, really looked at here. Also, there may be some things that get revealed in this retrograde cycle. There may be moments of reckoning. There may be moments of kind of a reality check is how it's coming through, you know? Realizing maybe you have a false impression of a situation, or what you thought was the right course of action to take may need a little bit of review, a little bit of recalibration, okay? Interesting. So we're working with that cauldron of Dagda energy, and I do like this, that the cauldron of Dagda is still stirring, still bubbling. There's something brewing there. So this is a real turning point for us here at the channel, because we've been moving through these four treasures of the Tuatha De Danann for quite a while, and we always get caught up at the cauldron. So I like to see that things are still cooking in the cauldron. This is good. This is good. We might be really looking at adapting the recipe a little bit. Maybe we want to throw in some different kind of spices. Maybe we feel there needs to be a little bit more nurturing in this pot, or something that gives a little bit more fortification, a little more strengthening. So I think we're trying to get the recipe right here in how to bring about a certain synergy and healing. We're building the light, trying to call in a new spiral of creation here. Okay, so let's talk about this retrograde cycle, because it's quite a heavy hitter. We got 5 planets retrograde, and actually all of the mutable signs come into the mix with this. Jupiter retrograde going on from November 11th to March 10th, 2026, as I already mentioned. And it did come in with the aspect of Jupiter trine Saturn. So this is really when we're experiencing a shift from overinflated optimism, where we have kind of a devil-may-care attitude, and we're more focused on instant reward. And maybe we were lucky with pressing our luck a bit, you know, but now there's going to be a bit of a reckoning moment, you know, where it's like, well, not so fast. Okay, so I do feel like there's checks and balances coming in here. There may be some rough landings in relation to where we kind of got a little bit ahead of ourselves, aimed a little too high without having the proper foundation or the proper understanding of the situation. And this is when we're going to start to move into more of a stoic outlook, more of a Saturnian outlook, where we really think about the nuts and bolts and what we need to do to reinforce a foundation, maybe even tear down a foundation and start anew, build anew from a new perspective. A lot of this will be balanced out with spiritual recalibration and coming more into our heart. Whereas before we might have been more focused just on outward advancement, now the motion comes from within and it spirals out. There's also a focus on long-term growth, especially in relation to the area of finances, okay? And we know that this can come with some seismic shifts, because one of the planets that is retrograde is Uranus, and it moved out of Gemini, where it's a lot more harmonious of an environment in Gemini, and back into Taurus. So we know there's themes there that are really going to be echoing back to 2018. So think about what got set in motion back there and look at how it's played out. There might be some reality checks you're dealing with at this point, and really looking at, okay, how can I shift this up? You have to remember that Pluto is in Aquarius, so Uranus is the modern day ruler of Aquarius. Saturn used to be considered the ruler of Aquarius, one of the rulers of Aquarius, but also Capricorn, of course, and Saturn is retrograde during this cycle. So this is when we have to review how we've set things in motion. We need to look at setting things in motion in a new way. We got Neptune retrograde, and that brings Pisces into the mix. Saturn's been in Pisces for a while, so it's really looking at how are we doing with this new kind of flow we're trying to embrace. We may have experimented a little bit. We may recognize that some of those things need to be expanded on. We need to continue to innovate and sort of push our edge, but reasonably so, not taking risks that aren't well thought out. We really need to look at what are we laying down for a future in the long term here. This is really important. Yes. And we might have been a little too hasty out of the gate. This is coming in with the energy of Judgment, Sagittarian energy there. And it says softly, softly, the tender touch. See, I do feel like there's new insight that's coming in that is really merging with the heart center, recognizing where, you know, maybe I was a little too blunt with my words. Maybe I didn't have a full understanding of the situation. Maybe I'm starting to have compassion for others involved in the situations that I'm struggling with, because I'm starting to touch a little bit of that center of emotion that they've been navigating for quite some time. It's sort of like it's giving me the sense of an outsider to a situation thinking they have a full grasp of what you've been navigating, what you've been dealing with, but they don't really get it until they're thrown into the thick of it, until they're in that soul soup with you, and then they go, oh gosh, wait a minute, I have a different perspective now. There's obviously been some kind of illumination that is coming in here with this lotus coming into bloom. That's the Hasara, the crown chakra. And this is what gets one considering a way to bring about a new type of unfoldment that is more anchored into what is good for others as well, not just considering the self, and what's really going to give long-term peace, satisfaction, progress, and stability in a situation. There's a real understanding of the impact of how words are being used, how one's communicating, and that maybe this needs some refinement. There needs to be more attention to this particular detail. And the words once spoken can't be taken back. So they do set certain things in motion. In some cases, this can be words coming back around, you know, to bite us in the butt. You know, remember what you said back there? And there can be a little bit of that. And a recognition that maybe one lacked a certain understanding of the situation, and that's what caused them to speak out of those places, or perhaps places of hurt inside, or feeling in some way inadequate, that caused one to fire off at the mouth. And then, you know, that sets certain things in motion, certain things that are now coming back to roost. There needs to be softening here. There needs to be a certain tumbling in the waters to smooth the rough edges. I feel this is important. There's been a lot of sharpness, a lot of pointedness, and there needs to be a little bit more buffering here. There's a lot of activated energy in the mix, all right? We have Mercury go retrograde on November 9th. That's going to be in play until the 29th, but we know there's always like this shadow quality to the retrograde energy, so you really have to extend it a couple weeks into December. So Sagittarians are really feeling this retrograde, and so are Scorpios. It's absolutely moving through both of those seasons pretty strongly. So I think that there's going to be a lot of review around these aspects, these areas of life. Looking at times when maybe we did operate in a clandestine way, and maybe some of that stuff is being exposed now, even to ourselves, like ways that we duped ourselves, that we kept our subconscious motives really hidden from our own awareness, and then recognizing the way that complicated things caught us up, the way that that was too abrupt of a way to move through a situation, looking at it in retrospect, you know, the long-term ramifications of that. It might have been fun in the moment. We might have gotten our cookie, so to speak, but that cookie came with a high price, okay? Especially when you look at it from the angle of getting caught with your hand in the cookie jar, right? It's these kind of energies. Also looking at the cycles of life, looking at what has come to pass, where there have been deaths, where there have been losses, and integrating those experiences and how that really affects the way you view your future, even where you stand right now. So there's a lot of these energies playing out with these karmic cycles. And what's really at play here is the desire to dream a new dream. But do you see, it's a collective dream. We each hold our individual piece in it, the light body really coming on board at this time. The revolution happens inwardly. It really comes through energetic alignment within oneself that harmonizes with the greater collective energy that is going through a transmutation process at this time. Okay? So there's no way to get around the need to really consider others. That's how it's coming through. I think there's a lot more awareness around this that's building, especially because of what's going on a macrocosmic level. Like, in order to be able to navigate the territory up ahead, just with what's changing in the world and all that's in a state of upheaval, you got to be able to connect with others. You know, it's not going to be a situation where you're going to be able to navigate that alone. So if you automatically put up walls between people that you're actually meant to work with, it's going to make the way a lot harder going. And so there can be some situations where people are eating crow, you know, like they're like, okay, I recognize I really sabotaged a connection back there that is actually quite important for how I want to move forward, and even how I need to move forward. Like, I need this person to be able to work with me And if I can't iron this out, it's going to be quite problematic. In some cases, there will be an aspect kind of coming in where, you know, those who stirred the pot are going to have to lick the spoon. And I do feel like there's a lot of emotions coming to the surface at this time. I also think there's a lot of freeing ourselves from the judgments of others who didn't see us accurately, who maybe didn't understand our vision, didn't understand our dream, didn't understand how what we were setting in motion really was in favor of healing and bringing things together, and not just for ourselves, but how we really were considering others connected to this situation. But I do feel like there's this quality where there has been selfishness, or just moving in such a way of thinking of personal gratification and no consideration about how others may be affected. That's really coming home to roost. And where there is a recognition of that, and where we see those qualities within ourselves, this is the time when we need to be gentle with ourselves, first of all, and understand what caused us to move like that. Why did I take that action, you know? And what place inside of me was that coming from? Because that's really what needs healing, especially in relation to Chiron being retrograde. You know, that's about the deepest wound of the self. So it's really about understanding ourselves and being gentle with ourselves too, being compassionate towards ourselves, because anytime we act out of a place of wounding that influences other people, before we can really address that outwardly with the other, we first have to address it within ourselves. So be patient during this process. Don't be too harsh in your judgments of yourself either if you are balancing stuff like this out. It is possible to reclaim the hope of the sun, to have success, to have a new kind of unfoldment that brings the happiness into view, okay? But it's going to take some time. You have to approach it softly, sensitively, not abruptly, not aggressively, right? We have to recognize also with Mercury retrograde that doesn't just influence the overall collective, but of course we got Gemini in the mix, which is a mutable sign, and we got Virgo that's in the South Node. So there's a lot here that is being reviewed as far as old cycles we've been through, and that roots back to 2018. We have to really look at how we can make some changes in terms of our daily habits, our work, our routine, what's working, what isn't, how do we need to shift that, change that around. And Gemini, especially in terms of our communication. And this is what can really hold us in that crossroads position of the choice, or lovers as it's known in modern times. And certainly lovers can be in the mix, especially with Aries and Chiron and not being retrograde, because descendant sign to Aries is Libra. And we know we got a lot of Venusian influence going down right now too. And we are in that rebirth of Venus phase. We're going to be moving through that for a while. So this is the long haul here. Okay? We're taking the long way home. We're all walking each other home. Saturn retrograde is really going to require us to have a new sense of discipline, determination, and focus in terms of the work to be done. And doing a little review there, and adjustments, readjustments where we need to get something more solidified, or maybe where we recognize we've been frittering our time a bit. We need to get a little bit more dialed in terms of our focus here and what we need to do, and taking those steps to really change our daily routine so it supports the foundation we want to put in place, especially in relation to our work and our financial aspirations. Neptune retrograde, this is where we're reviewing our dreams. Do I still have the same dream? Has my dream changed? Do I want to infuse a new inspiration in a current dream? This is when we're reevaluating our dreams. And we're also seeing through our illusions, you know, and recognizing that there's a better way to root our dreams in material reality. We will be dealing with some situations where things have unexpected results with Uranus in the mix. I mean, sometimes it can be to our benefit, and some of us will be receiving a little bit of reward for how we did set things in motion in the right way. We have receiving coming in here. So some of you really did lay down a proper foundation with that South Node work you were doing. And in relation to that, get prepared to receive some kind of blessing. This might have been something that isolated you in a way. You may have been like that hermit, you know, wandering through the valley of the shadow, and all you had was your inner light to guide you forward. And maybe you were moving on your own for a bit, but I do feel where you've sent up some prayers, those prayers are about to be answered. And there's something beautiful that's coming into illumination here with the full moon that arrives on the scene. It's actually a full moon in Gemini, and it's coming in on the 5th, but it will be in its waxing phase the night of the 4th, okay? So real time of powerful communication coming in relation to prayers that you've sent up, and really understanding, yes, there is some beneficent force in the multiverse that is hearing me, is responding to me. Or if you look at it more as I do, there is those forces that are set in motion by how you've been applying your energy. Those particles have been vibrating, they've been getting it on, and there's new things that are birthing here, and there's some kind of recognition. Something you set in motion is manifesting here. You're receiving something here, and it does give you, you know, a little something for the road ahead. You might be shocked what comes in here. It's the shock of the new. Now you finally feel like, okay, I'm tapping into the right frequency. I feel like I'm aligning with my purpose. A lot of you will continue to have this sense of some kind of message that you need to bring forward. And the message doesn't always necessarily use your voice in the traditional way that you would think of it. The message may involve you creating something to broadcast a certain frequency out there that the collective is meant to tap into. This is when we all really recognize that we each individually have something to contribute to the process that's underway. It is a collective process. This is not something where we're isolated in this, even though during this stretch, when there's a lot of retrograde activity going on, we may feel like we're in it alone, but we're not. We're all in this together here, okay? So whatever this is, look by the 6th on the other side of that full moon. The full moon will come in the morning hours on the 5th. So by the time that plays out in that 24-hour period, you're already going to have an idea about how you're meant to bring your energy forward. There's things that you're birthing here, things that you're setting in motion. You might be quite surprised what you're setting in motion. You may have never expected yourself to take this action, to head in this direction, but whatever this is, it gets you out of the crossroads. And for those of you that are in some kind of industry, a creative industry where production is involved, or maybe where your voice is important, you might be surprised what message you're putting out there or what you're producing. You may also be surprised what it sets in motion, the reach it has, and how it brings so many new things into your field of awareness, into your life, and sets things up on the stage for your future. Okay, I like this. So something new coming in here, something new brewing. All right. Of course, we also have, with the Jupiter retrograde, that influences both Pisces and Sag. So this is really all about us getting beyond the restrictions of the past karmic cycles, lighting up our blind spots, recognizing that hindsight is always 20/20. So we are doing a little bit of review here, and looking at times when maybe we got a little too big for our britches or tried to move ahead too quickly without really considering ramifications, making adjustments there, so we really can get aligned with that North Star. It's also really thinking about how can I create a more optimistic future. This has also got a little bit of a philosophical angle to it, understanding, you know, what we weren't aware of before that was causing problems. Well, we're aware of it now, so that naturally makes adjustments in the game plan. But I mean, all of this looks good. It does look like something comes in Sagittarius season. On the other side of that full moon in Gemini, it really does have us taking in something that nurtures us and our future dreams on a soul level here. And brings in perhaps some communication too that's very healing, brings about some kind of alignment. I love this. Look, and it comes in with the energy of 12, that 12th house, 39, right? So communication related to old karmic cycles, things from the past, things that we're releasing, coming in here. And we're free from judgments. We're free to love. Okay, so it's really about not just freeing others from these judgments, but also ourselves. And this is when we're finding that balance coming in with the energy of justice, Libra energy. We're diving for light here. We're going real deep, but what we pull up from the deep is a creative way forward. There's light we find there as we delve into the darkness, and it's beautiful. It brings about that synergy, that healing, and also a very creative way forward. Seahorses are associated with the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is the seahorses that draw forward Neptune's chariot through the waters. So we're moving through the waterway here. We're getting forward in a way maybe we weren't expecting. And also when we think of the hippocampus, it brings on board the whole endocrine system, the hormonal system, and that chain reaction, and also stimulating the brain centers that allow us to look at things in a more dreamscape sort of aspect, but not while we're asleep, as we're awake. And so there's also a lot of these kind of blurring of lines that are coming through that people are experiencing at this time. This is the reality that's always been here. It's just that the collective consciousness has not been on board where it could really see that, oh wow, there's a lot more malleability to reality than I considered. I used to see things as really hard and fast, but they're not. Things are always in motion, and things can change as soon as we get a different outlook. And it really is true when you start to gain a different perspective, when you look at things in more of a quantum sort of way, then you do recognize that there's ways that you can shift anything that currently seems intractable. But you first have to open up to that creative brain space. And of course, when we look at the hippocampus, one of the best ways to open up to that creative brain space is to work with things like visualization techniques, to dive deep into meditation, to enter into things in the marketplace that bring your energy outward into material reality. You can do meditative walks. Things like this are very beneficial at this time. Also, getting some sunlight is very nurturing for the whole endocrine system. And this is how we can keep the energy moving too, but also light up those areas in our consciousness that can actually see the solution come in, because we kind of get ourselves out of the programming of the matrix, which gets really enforced when we're constantly checked out, looking at a screen, and we're not really engaging with life around us. But there is something we pull through this cycle as we're moving retrograde that does balance out something karmically. 29:07 on the clock. So yeah, 11:07. We had 7:11 come in as well, I think, on the last download. So this is absolutely a synchronicity to look out for. There's something that balances out, and it does move us forward. We're not going to be stuck at the crossroads here. I like this. Let me go ahead. 29:29 on the clock. 11:11. And again, there's like somebody else you're aligning with here. Many people are coming into alignment with star mates. And I just heard you're getting it right this time. Okay, that's beautiful. cut the deck energy. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, see, now it's time to bring it into form. It's all about taking the actions, taking a step. And if you really feel like, I don't have a clue, I'm not tapped into that flow yet, go for a walk. I know it seems like something so mundane and so simple, but just go for a walk. It doesn't matter where you go for a walk. You don't have to go for a walk somewhere scenic and picturesque. I mean, if you have access to that, that's wonderful. But you can go for a walk in a concrete jungle and you can feel the beat of the street, and it'll put you in a whole new rhythm. And the people you make contact with and what shows up on your path, it really does start to guide you if you enter into that walk in a meditative space where you're taking something that you've been grappling with, like, I don't know the way forward. I don't know how to step out of the crossroads. All right, I'm going to take that for a walk. Please, life, speak to me, show up for me, set the intention, show me the next step. You'll be amazed how you look at things that you normally just glance over in a totally different way. You'll start to recognize how all of life is communicating with you. And when you look at things through that reality tunnel, you find that more synchronicities start to show up for you, and then your steps become very guided. And they're being guided by your avatar. They're being guided through your higher consciousness that you always have access to. You don't need anybody outside of you to point that way out to you. The way is always there to be discovered, but you have to invite in the consciousness that can recognize the signs that are showing up. And they're not going to happen when you're like staring at a screen. They happen when you're out in the flow of the elements, okay? So just take it for a walk. Bring it into form, and then watch how all the lights come on around you. Watch how there's all kinds of signs lit up for you. Watch how you enter that flow of synchronicity. Ooh, beautiful. And this comes in with 33. Okay, another master builder number coming in. And there really is a lot of assistance out there through people you meet, through conversations you have. This is when the guides are coming on board, but don't just think of guides as coming through in a sort of esoteric, spiritual, sort of, ether sort of way. Although that is certainly there, a lot of you that are tapped into that stream of consciousness will be getting a lot of information, maybe even working with some new guides, maybe diving deeper into that process. But this is when the guides show up in the physical flesh, right? It's a little bit of heaven rooted down on earth, and you certainly can encounter some earth angels, all right? So be kind and compassionate toward everyone you encounter as well, because you may encounter some angels in disguise, and they're linking up with you to communicate something of value. And what they're communicating can help get you out of that gridlock, out of that position where you don't know the next step. So really value what comes through for you, even if it comes in an outer presentation that defies your ideas of what something spiritual looks like, right? 7-Eleven. You can find Dharma at the convenience store. And a lot of this stuff is going to start to come through rather ordinary ways, but it's not ordinary. There are no ordinary moments. There's something quite extraordinary that's happening here. So clue into that. And there really is something about this. Like the more that you can enter into a meditative brain space, the more you're going to pick up on this. And that, of course, 33 comes in with the 6 energy signatures. So yes, there's a little something that is reminding us of the beauty and the enchantment in the world coming in with the Venusian energy there. And it's going to help us bring that beauty back into our reality. And I did want to get one round of these cards here with the Infinite Tarot, just to clue into this a little bit more elementally in the collective download. And then we'll dive into the individual reads for the mutable signs, which those reads are for any placement or strong house placement. Also, if you have a mutable sign as your descendant sign. Okay. Certainly in this territory, as we're moving through things relational, it's very helpful to clue into your descendant sign. How do you know if you have a mutable descendant sign? Well, if you are a Virgo rising, you are a Pisces descendant. If you are a Pisces rising, you're a Virgo descendant. If you have Gemini rising, you're a Sagittarius descendant. And if you have Sagittarius rising, you are Gemini descendant, okay? So a little something for everybody here. That's why I started doing these reads grouped according to elemental expression, because I feel like it can speak more collectively, and we all can benefit from what comes in here as opposed to doing the individual sign reads. I like there to be something for everybody with these messages. Yeah, see, here we are. Basis of the matter. Our compass is still sort of directed in South Node matters, even though we feel like we're on point. There's like some kind of detail, some kind of communication that needs to come in here to get us properly oriented. But what have we learned through that download that came in around our origin story and the way that sometimes you gotta head south to get north? And it's not like, however we move back there, even if there were some errors in judgment, was the wrong way to move, because ultimately, in the bigger picture of things, sometimes you have to go real left to get things right. And it's just the way it is. Sometimes things have to be turned upside down to go right side up. We need to go through certain experiences in life to get lessons that can only really be rooted if you go through it. You know what I mean? It's one thing to have book knowledge about something and another thing to live through it. And usually when it comes to the rough stuff in life and learning lessons about what not to do, you have to really go through that experientially before you get the recalibration on board. And that's what this is about, okay? So we're looking at the South Node matters here. That's what's coming in as a main focus point during this retrograde cycle. And I mean, we're just really going to be diving into this even more. So even once we arrive at the new moon in Scorpio that comes in on the 20th, we're still going to be integrating a lot of the subterranean stuff. But with that new moon that comes in Scorpio, we got Father Sky coming in here, Sky family. There is some hint, something that comes in a very inspired way. It may come in through communication. It could come in through communication that happens on a more spiritual level first. But I do feel there will also be a lot communicating through synchronicity. Other people we're having dialogue with, and something comes through there with that new moon in Scorpio that uplifts the energy a little bit. It makes us see that there's something possible here. There's something possible to build the light for my future in a new way. And it does have a little bit of a protective quality coming in with that father energy. It does give a feeling of security or really being watched over here. So I like this energy. Now this came in reverse as well. The masks are falling away with the King of Water here. Okay, so coming in very strongly for Pisces energy. Also, we're looking at Cancer and Scorpio here as well. But since this is a mutable expression coming in very strongly for Pisces, this is when, you know, the shield's coming down. This is when the defenses no longer need to be up because there's nothing to hide anymore. The mask is falling away and there's clarity around what's really been operating behind the facade, okay? This stuff is really coming to the surface here, coming in with the King of Water in reverse, okay? Let me get one round here and see what this is speaking of, what is discovered in the falling away of the mask. So this could be somebody that you're dealing with. This could be in matters of the heart too, looking at the King of Water, you know, getting beyond the facade to go a little bit deeper here. I like this. We got Father Fire, and see, there's that solar energy again peeking on through. Okay, so there is something that's being balanced out here, and it can only be balanced out though if false pretenses and the masks we wear are allowed to fall away. That's the alchemical point of transformation, to reclaim the sun, to reclaim the happiness coming in here. So Sagittarian energy coming out very strongly in relation to this, but also all the fire sign energies. Aries, certainly with Chiron in Aries there going retrograde, and also Leo represented by the sun. Right, so this is a beautiful transformational energy, but it really is letting us know there's no way to move forward with masks any longer. The masks are coming off, and where there is reticence to that exposure, it's happening through surprising circumstances, reality checks. So the more that we can move into this process on our own, right, and just be very transparent and unguarded and forward with what we're feeling and our desires and what we're experiencing, the more that this will be an easier process for us. And where we're resistant to that and we really want to keep things cloaked and hidden, the more that we will get reality checks where it's like, no, we can't move forward like that. And that's sort of the territory we're moving through at this time. The ultimate goal, though, is transmutation of the energy, though, to put us back in the heart space where happiness can be possible, where there can be a successful outcome, where things have fallen short to our original desires. And we're going to do kind of the deck here to cap this off for the collective read. Six of Earth. And there's that Venusian energy and the birth of Venus, the rebirth of Venus, also the birth of a new beginning. But things are just in their inception phase here. Okay, so things will start small. And if they're nurtured very compassionately, tenderly through this time, by the time we arrive in the spring, there will really be an opportunity to invest in a new way forward. And on the other side here, ooh, we got the Joker of Earth, okay? Little wild card energy in the mix coming in with telephone. So this is a material matter, all right? 42, 44 on the clock, 6:44. 44 breaks down to 8. This is the foundation of the rebirth of Venus energy coming in here. And it does relate to something in the past. It's going to take strength to overcome this, but you do have the strength to do this. And there's some kind of surprising communication coming in here with telephone and the Joker of Earth. This is something we're not expecting. We're not expecting this communication. And this is something that happens very practically. This is an earth matter coming in here. So you could even be hearing news about a birth, right? And it could be the birth of a child, but there could be some other opportunity that you're receiving here that you wouldn't expect normally. And this changes everything, but it is happening in material reality, all right? This isn't something more kind of like esoteric happening here, although that definitely could be the generating force behind it. All right, so you know what you got to do. Take off those masks. Be true to the vision. Be true to who you are now. 44 on the clock. That is the building block for the future. And we're going to dive right into the individual sign reads here, okay? Coming in at 4413, we're going to read for Sagittarius. All right, let's see what is coming in for Sagittarius. Any placement in Sagittarius, strong 9th house placement, or Gemini rising, which makes you a Sagittarius descendant. What is coming in for Sagittarius here? I mean, coming in with that 44 energy, you are absolutely in this place of laying down the foundation for the future. You're pretty sure about what you're rooting here. You also have some directions as far as your mission statement is concerned. You also know there is something you need to bring to a close if you are to move forward powerfully into your future. There's something that has outlived its purpose. There needs to go through a transformation here, Sagittarius. You could be dealing with a Scorpio. You could be dealing with a Leo. You could be dealing with an Aries, okay? Any of these characters could be factoring into your situation. All right, I do think you want to bring more pleasure, more levity into your life, more fun. I think you're also in a position where you're ready to be freed from a pretty heavy cycle where you've been going through it, closing out some stuff that may have taken the wind out of your sails at points. You may have been dealing with some major endings in your life. You may have been dealing with the loss of loved ones. This could have happened because of physical deaths. It could also be in relation to really significant relationships coming to a close that felt like death for you. This can even be total restructuring of how you see yourself. You may have gone through a spiritual death. Okay, so this is some pretty heavy territory you've been moving through. I think there's also been a lot that's been a mystery to you. You may have been really drawn in by more mysterious matters in some cases. In some cases, you've been exploring your spirituality. You've been looking at things through a different angle, perhaps very different from the spiritual tradition you were raised within. You may have been challenging the borders too of what is acceptable. You may have dove into the area of the taboo. And some of you may have been dealing with clandestine situations, whether you were on the receiving end of that or whether you were exploring connections in a more hidden way, hidden from prying eyes, okay? And all of it is really about yourself, you know, and what new cycles do you want to initiate? How do you feel about yourself? How do you see yourself now? Where do you see yourself going in the future? And really considering that leap off the cliff as the fool and not wanting to be foolish, wanting to take calculated risks that pay off and lead to bold, brand new beginnings. There's a little bit of daring involved here too. And I do see there's been a lot you've been integrating here with the 5 of Cups on the bottom of the deck. There was something that got spilled here. There was something that got spoiled. But I do feel like the vision that's brewing for the future is something that does require you to tap into your innate optimism, because there's been some brooding going on here. There could have been a little drowning the sorrows in drink too, or other vices. This could have been the cause of what caused something to go awry. In some cases, you were dealing with a situation that involved addiction on some level, and this was problematic. There could also be something where there were outside parties, elements involved in your situation that interrupted what was supposed to be a healing experience or something that was supposed to be a cause for celebration. Something just really went south here. I think you've been looking back at it, and some of you have been really feeling like all is lost. And there's a need to turn around here because there's still some alignment here. And maybe it's about recognizing one of these things is not like the other. Like there is something here that does need to be released in order for alignment to come about. And with that, we have 49:11 on the clock. Yeah, in order to get justice and balance in a situation, alignment in a situation, 49 breaks down to 13. There needs to be an ending. And this ending may be something that is truly an act of power. It's weighing heavily on you. There's something you're strongly considering here. There could be a Scorpio connected to your situation. There could be a Libra connected to your situation. Or you could have one of those signs strongly aspected in your chart. And you're really feeling this on a deeply personal level. Okay. Things that are coming to an end at this time are truly a moment of power. It's where there's a lot of power building in your life that's setting you on a new path. And this path is going to be your justice. It's going to bring about alignment for you. This popped up right in the middle of the deck. Yes. Ooh, there's a couple cards that popped up here. I see this. So again, look, it really shows you reflecting on this and feeling closed off. But I feel that there's some opportunity coming in from Father Sky. We saw that, okay? There's something being set in motion here that is really going to be a gift to you. It's an answered prayer, but I feel like if you're so caught up in reflecting on past disappointments, you won't be able to see this. And yet I do feel like you're going to be able to clue into that energy, because here we got the King of Swords coming in. This is being very decisive in a situation. You could be dealing with an air sign energy. Isn't that interesting? I'm looking at the 2 new moons there. So we had the new moon that came in Libra on the 21st of October, right on the cusp of Scorpio season. And we have the upcoming new moon that is coming in on the 20th in the sign of Scorpio. And right in the middle there, we have the butterfly. Sign of transformation, certainly, but also represents butterfly clan on the medicine wheel, which is all the air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. You could be dealing with an air sign, or you could have a strong air sign placement in your chart, but this is you being very decisive. This is also perhaps taking an action to communicate something that brings about a transformation here. This could be a message received that brings about a sudden transformation. Also a moment of clarity. This is what needs to be transformed. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Look, there's 2 more butterflies here. Look at that. There's 2 more butterflies here. So it's like you're understanding what needs to be relinquished, what needs to be transformed, what needs to be cut off. And in some cases, it can be a way of communicating, or it can be a way of seeing a situation, like your thoughts about a situation. It could be some BS that you're uprooting here, okay? Something you're transforming in your view of a situation, or your idea about how to move something forward. There's something that is transformed here, something that is being cut away decisively that does bring about a transformation and alignment. And it's happening in this period leading up to the new moon in Scorpio. So I feel like this is coming in quite soon for you. And may involve an air sign energy. And there's also something here about like 2 heads are better than 1. It's almost like you need to bring together this idea you have with another. And something about the way your energies communicate to each other creates a spark of transformation too. I see that. There is some communication coming in here. And you know, recently with the way this has been coming in with the 8 of Wands, whatever this is, it has you hitting the mark. And it brings you into total alignment with that North Star, with your North Node. It's the thing that sets up the path to the Stargate that arrives on the scene on the 17th of February with that ring of fire in Aquarius. But do look for the next 8 minutes, the next 8 hours, the next 8 days to be very significant in the communication that comes in. Whatever comes in, whatever synchronicities come in here, it could be real practical communication coming in, or it could just be a brilliant idea. Whatever this is, something gets set in motion here. You put something into motion. And I feel like 2 months from now, you're on your way. Like something really radically changes here. Okay, anything else? Okay. It will bring you to a point in the spring. And I don't know why I got this, but I feel like it comes in right around in bulk. So around the 2nd of February. So not quite at spring, but right before then, where it's really recognizing that, okay, if I'm going to move forward with this, I have to plant the seed or there won't be any growth. You will get this tangible opportunity. It's not something that is like happening on just like a mystic level. This is like a tangible opportunity being presented to you. And it may even be something in relation to your work to help you grow a different kind of foundation for yourself financially and for your future. But this is not something you can just like stay up in your head about. Like, you need to put the work in to really root this. This requires physical investment, see, because it's sort of saying like, as long as you just keep kind of like thinking about it and you don't actually set it into motion, which might be like some creative idea you have here that you've been inspired by, but you kind of just look at all the material reasons why you can't do this, you know, so you don't act on it. You keep kind of weighing out your options here and thinking about it rather than doing whatever this is. You need to actually do it. Because you won't see the growth in the spring if you do not actually act on it. This requires that you do what you may consider like a little bit of drudgery. Like, you got to do the groundwork for this. You got to get your schedule organized. You know, I'm also seeing this King of Swords, a little bit of that Virgoan energy coming in, where you might need to really change something about your daily routine. Also, pay attention to your health. That's important at this time too, because I do feel like you got to be in this for the long haul to lay down the foundation for this. And so it's necessary to really look at practicalities. But if you do that, you'll find yourself moving forward a lot faster than you expect, and in a very purposeful sort of way. Like, I do feel like you'll be lit up around this, but it's not something you can just sort of like rest on, think about, ponder. Like, you have to do something here. It looks like you're being offered an Ace of Cups and also an Ace of Pentacles, but you have to take an action here. And there may be something that you need to decisively cut off. And it could even be a bad habit or just a way you're frittering your time and energy that isn't working. And you need to change this in order to see the growth you want to see. Yeah. I mean, it's already done, whether you acknowledge it or not. With the Ten of Swords, something has come to an end. And if you want to reclaim the hope of the star, you've got to do things differently. So during this retrograde cycle, do be aware that your stargate is already coming into view. And there is some lucky break coming in here that does pave the way for the future. What will be a lot of blessings pouring into your life by the time you get to that ring of fire, okay, in February. But there's a need for some self-reflection here. There's a need for clarification, clarity of you through doing some healing work and really allowing the subconscious stuff to come to the surface. You might want to do some spiritual cleansing in some cases as well, just to prepare for this future. But there is something coming in here that moves you into the rebirth phase of your journey on the other side of what's been really rough. Something got, you know, closed out very roughly here. And it's like you've been brooding in that place. You've been feeling a little bitter about what went down back there. And that's what's really holding you back, okay? Cut of the deck is kind of trailed behind. Page of Swords, yes, see? You got to really chart your course here. There's a need to be daring. There's a need to be bold, but smart. You know, you don't want to just move recklessly. This is about really formulating a strategy for how you're going to move forward, because you can already pick up the current that, yeah, things are shifting, things are changing. So I really see this as a going rogue sort of energy, but not haphazardly, really setting yourself up with a wise plan of action. And this does require you first to come to a place of peace with what happened in the past, sort of rest on the truth that you got from that experience, and allow yourself to get ready, centered, and stabilized to take some decisive actions here that require you to have a game plan in play. And I do feel like there's an answered prayer coming through here. Like something that you've been hoping for is going to come through. You're going to receive some blessing here. And this is really going to make it clear about what needs to be cut off, what you need to separate yourself from, and making peace with that. So you can really align with this truth that's going to carry you forward. I want to see what's behind this. Has something to do with the star mate. Has something to do also with recovering a dream here. This is a very whimsical sort of energy, so I like what's brewing here for you. But there could be like a back to the future moment in connection with this. This could even be a dream that you're recovering from your youth. You thought time had passed you by. Not so. It's coming back around. And there could be somebody special to you that factors into this, that you're getting reacquainted with, that you're entering into a healing process with. And there could be some beautiful communication coming through there too. So this looks good. All right. Okay, coming in at 1:38 on the clock. Ones all across the board. This is a magic moment of recalibration and new beginning for Pisces. Okay, I don't want to pull out for Pisces. Let's bring the angels in for Pisces. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle a bit. What's on the bottom of the deck here? Oh, you got an 8 of Wands too on the bottom of the deck. So yes, there's a lot coming in here. A lot of communication about your new beginning. Could be coming in from a Gemini, Pisces. There's something here that's going to really make you feel like you haven't been passed over by spirit, all right? I like this energy. It's just recognizing that your prayers have been heard. Something is transforming here. There could be a revival of something in your life just when you thought that there was no way to bring it back to life. Life is breathed into this again. There could be some really important communication that's coming in for you. And as I've been saying, pay attention the next 8 minutes, 8 hours, 8 days. Look for those synchronicities. They will really put you on track for what's going to be playing out in your life over the next 2 months. All right, so pay attention. There's so much communication coming in at this time, Pisces, okay? Any Pisces placement, strong 12th house placement, or if you are a Virgo rising, that makes you a Pisces descendant. All right, so let's see what you need to know at this time. Bottom of the deck, High Priestess energy. Okay, so very much in your energy, really trusting your intuition at this time. Stay out of the head, stay in the heart, stay in the space of just your energy body, really trusting how the energy is communicating to you at this time. If you do that, if you really trust what you're picking up energetically here, you're going to have success. I also feel like there's some kind of protection here as well with something that normally could get you caught up, but it does require that you really pay attention to what you're picking up energetically. So if something feels off to you, like if a person feels off, or a certain dynamic feels off, or an opportunity feels off, or heading in a certain direction just feels like, I'm not sure, you really need to respect what your intuition is telling you, because that's what's going to protect you from getting caught up. And when it's in relation to certain people, if you ignore that, you may find out that you get yourself attached to certain people that's quite problematic, could even get you in some kind of trouble. So really pay attention to what your intuition is telling you. This will also allow you to open up to new beginnings in your life. It could be there's certain associations or certain situations you've been involved with that have been keeping you caught up, that have been blocking your path, so to speak. And you're going to get a clearer view of this coming in with Daniel here. And we got the King of Wands. The need to take a real decisive action here to get straight to the point. It's bringing in Spear of Lu energy. This is when your actions really need to align with your truth, with Fragarok, okay, in order to hit the mark in this situation. Could be in relation to a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. There is something that needs to be communicated here, but it's all about the way you communicate it. It needs to be communicated with a certain kind of eloquence, okay? So this is when you need to refine your speech, the way that you discuss something with someone. Maybe you had really heated words in the past, or maybe there was too aggressive of a stance. This put roadblocks in the way. There's a need to approach something more eloquently here. I also feel like where you have been feeling like you can't get on the same page with someone, or you're having too many doubts in a situation, this is getting to the other side of those doubts, to getting something solidified where there's mutual understanding through the right kind of communication. I feel like there's been too much abrasive communication, too much that's been heated. It may have caused something to shut down. With that, we got the Knight of Pentacles coming in with the Fool in reverse, okay? So I feel like there's been a new beginning here that's been put on ice. Like the road hasn't been open. Somebody may have acted foolishly. And when I see the arrow here, you know, and it's in reverse, this could be because of the wrong kind of communication, or taking an action that you knew, no, that feels a little bit off. I don't know if I should be doing this. And that's what sort of shoots you in the foot. So again, really pay attention to what your intuition is telling you. And this may have something to do with being overly optimistic about heading in a particular direction. And it's sort of like, well, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And then you come down with a rough landing and go, okay, that's smarts. I don't really want to repeat that. I need to really understand what screwed that up so I can lay down a foundation in a new way moving forward. Coming in with the Knight of Pentacles. I know it's the drudgery work, but if you really pay attention to this and you gain understanding about what made something go awry, this will give you the knowledge you need to avoid this in the future, okay? If you've been dealing with any kind of health challenges too, I do think you need to look deeper into a situation, maybe get a second opinion. There's something that's missing here that is preventing you from having a full recovery, right? So look deeper about what may be at the root for the physical health challenges you've been experiencing. And there's also maybe something about really getting a very stable, consistent health routine in place. It might be a little bit boring, but I think that it could be very helpful. There could also be some stuff you're not wanting to look at that could be negatively impacting the health, and that could come in through the area of vices, you know, and needing to uproot some of those. Like maybe you really got a sweet tooth, you know, and you're indulging a bit too much. There's a need to have a look at getting more nutritious food in place. Or maybe you're having too many late nights and you've been having a lot of fun, but it's really wearing you out. It's throwing your sleep schedule off. You need to get better sleep. This could be going out and partying too much, and maybe it's become something that has started really having a negative impact on the health, and there's a need to get a handle of that, you know, maybe in some cases even going through a recovery process. So these are all things we want to look at, especially with Neptune being retrograde. Okay, there could be some things that need to be addressed that have been glossed over up to this point. I also feel like right now is not the point for a new beginning. Right now is the time to really lay down the foundation, and to do so in a different way, so that when it does come time to move forward, which I'm really getting 8 weeks, you know, from now will be when it's time to really open the road. You'll be doing so on a real strong footing, and something different can go down this time, whereas you may have come up short in the past, or it might not have been the result that you wanted. And you may feel really frustrated, like you're like, I want my new beginning now. And you might have a tendency to push too hard, and that will really sabotage you. So be careful with this, okay? Because you're going to need some assistance to be able to move forward here. I see that. What you're trying to achieve is difficult. It's a big undertaking. And you're going to need to have other people on board in order for this to work out. So there really is something that needs to be looked at here, but I do feel like there is some reflective points coming in here that are going to give you the understanding you need. And from there, you'll be able to adjust your course to be able to build something on a more solid foundation moving forward here, Pisces, okay? There could be an Aquarius, an Aries, a Sagittarius, Libra rising, Leo rising, Gemini rising, connected to your situation. All right. Anything else that wants to come in here for Pisces? Anything else? Okay. Okay. We got a Queen of Wands kind of concealed here that's landing right on top of the Fool in reverse. So yeah, I feel like this is really coming through as your energy in relation to this desire you have. You know, are kind of cloaking your energy right now, like you're holding your energy back. And I think this is smart, okay? I do think that you have the desire to transform something here. You want this new beginning. You really want to head in a certain direction. But there is a need right now to maybe cloak your energy a little bit, to pull the energy inward. And it also has the vibe of really being surrounded by grace here. You also may be surrounding yourself with just some spiritual protection too. And maybe protection in the sense, not necessarily of having to do any kind of spiritual alchemy work to bring about protection. Although with 1, 11, 13 on the clock, you may be doing that. You may, because you might be closing out some really heavy stuff. You may be releasing some really heavy stuff. And so you might be calling up some energetic space around yourself that buffers you from some of the more sharp edges you can encounter in the world around you. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I feel like you're also maybe keeping to yourself, cloaking your energy a bit, and being more gentle with yourself and just allowing yourself to be in, it feels like almost like a chrysalis state here, because it looks a bit like a cocoon to me, but there's so much like angelic support here. And even as you're in this space, I feel like there's a lot of messages coming in, like there's a lot happening on a more etheric level for you. I feel like you're getting a lot of spiritual guidance in this space. You're dipping deep into your intuition here. And there is a power of transformation that is building here. There's a divine power that's building here. And I think this is really wise. It is wise to hold off on taking action or forcing something right now, because in doing so, this is going to protect you against mental troubles, you know, regretting your decision or feeling stressed out about taking that action because of the repercussions that come in from acting too fast. So this to me feels like a wise move. And again, you could be dealing with a Queen of Wands as well. You could be dealing with a fire sign energy. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius coming out pretty strongly here. But I do feel like there will be rejuvenation that comes through on the other side of this. We do have an Ace of Cups. I feel like it starts with you first. You have to fill your own cup first before you can nurture the growth you want to see here. And it looks like it's growth you want to see around a key person. I see a lot of creative energy here. That's what I'm really seeing. You know, it's wanting to birth a new beginning, and there's not really any set determination about what this looks like. There is indication that it requires the proper foundation, and it's going to take time to get where you want to go with this, or for you to discover what it's meant to be, whatever this is. But I do see a rejuvenative influence coming in here. And where maybe there were missteps, or you feel like, ugh, I wish I wouldn't have done that back there. I do feel like there's like grace coming through here. You got some mercy energy coming through here that will allow you to have longevity on the path you're laying down now. You know, something that will get you where you need to go in a brand new way. But it really is starting out with energy pouring into you, okay? Queen of Wands is a very independent energy. So I do feel like a lot of what's kind of coming through here is like resting, building your creative energy, getting back in touch with yourself, feeling really strong and in your power, in your own essence here. And it is that energy of really making sure that you're pouring into yourself first, probably because you're coming out the other side of something that's been really challenging for you, depleting for you, and you're just needing to like fill up the coffers a bit, okay? The time will come to take action. It's just not here yet because there's fire you're building here. That's what I feel. You're building your fire back up so you can transform inwardly what will be the basis of the outer expression and what lights up the path ahead. So this is a glow up kind of energy too. So you might be preparing as well for like a big reveal, you know. I could see that too. There could be something you're working on very quietly to yourself, something you got a brilliant idea around, could be something creatively, but you're concealed with it, you know? You're not ready to let this energy be seen by others, but you will be in time. It's something that's brewing. It's something that's brewing. And I see indicative here. There is a little bit of course correction. Like there is some kind of indication like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Or I wish I would have done this differently. I could have handled that better. And there is something that you're adjusting here. And there's grace in it, you know? There's grace in it. There is a way through. Okay. Let me go ahead and do a cut of the deck here. Yeah, Five of Wands. There have been some challenges here. You have been dealing with kind of an argumentative environment, maybe even competitive in some cases. There's like a lot of politics involved in this situation and a lot of clashing of wills, you know, people who have different desires and those oppose each other, and yet you're trying to figure out how can we all make this work together, and maybe there isn't a way to work things out in the way you were going about something in the past. There needs to be a different perspective here. But I do feel like you'll be able to get to the other side of this. There's protection for those who seek the truth, okay? And when it comes to seeking the truth, that means we have to be open to maybe recognizing that, oh, I didn't have the correct perspective about that back there, or I didn't really understand the impact taking that action was having on the situation or was having on other people. But after sitting with this for a bit and really having a look at it, I can understand that maybe there's a better way to do this. That's how it's coming through. And as long as you take that action, I do see it being successful. Okay. There's a way through. And we got Seven of Pentacles here. There could be a Virgo connected to your situation. I'm just really seeing that kind of hermit reference. But whatever's happening here, you are getting the fire. You're getting the fire you need to light your lantern that shows you how to get where you want to go. And this is going to bring about some kind of discernment on your part. And whatever decision you arrive at here, getting set out on the right foot, this is going to bring in a lot of prosperity into your life. Not just financially, but I feel like in many different respects, like many different avenues for abundance are going to start to open up for you once you got this on the right footing, okay? And where you have felt held back, where you have felt like you couldn't move forward, I do feel like there's deliverance here. All right, so this has a lot to do with bringing illumination around the better way to do something. And in recognizing that and seeing the truth in a situation, you move forward in a new way that does open up a lot of opportunities for you and produces growth. And with this, we got the Page of Wands, important communication coming in around this. And I like this because you started out here, look, with the Nine of Pentacles, shining the light below. And then you're ready to move forward with it. You see that you raise the light above. Okay, now I can raise that wand of the Magician and I can bring about the rebirth energy. I can stir up something new. I can rejuvenate something where I may have thought it was impossible. Okay, this is you building the light, and where you build this light, you will confound the wicked. and all those who have slandered, and it will save you from those who are hidden enemies that would like to work against you. And with that, I got 1:19:22 on the clock. It's a new beginning that secures your success, your happiness, and there is alignment here between you and another, right? So I like this. Beautiful energy, Pisces. Okay, coming in at 1:19:44 on the clock. We have Gemini. Let's see, what deck do I want to use for Gemini? I'm going to bring in the dragons for Gemini. You also got some new beginning coming in here that requires you to take action to bring about transformation, to rejuvenate an area of your life. Your energy coming in very strongly secures happiness, success for you, may involve a Leo. And yeah, it could very well involve a Leo. Something you need to bring your powers together around in order to set down a strong foundation. Bottom of the deck, Two of Swords. Right now, leading up to the time of the new moon in Scorpio, I feel like you're kind of keeping your energy to yourself. You may be cloaking your energy. There could have been people you blocked off. You may have put blocks in place because you really need to get back into your own energy. You might have had too many people pulling at you and you just want to get your own feelings clear on a situation, your own views clear on a situation. You're also trying to still your emotions here, which I think is always smart. It's good to still your emotions before you take any kind of action. So I do feel like you may have been protecting your emotions as well. You may feel a lot of emotions in a situation where people are moving kind of callously. And so I think you're protecting that space. You don't want to give just anybody access to what you're working through emotionally because you've seen the way people can betray that. Okay. So you could have let down your guard with somebody. You could have really shared yourself on a deeply personal, intimate, emotional level, and you found that that worked against you. People use that against you. And so now you're very protective about who you let into your emotional experience. I can see that. Okay, coming in for any strong Gemini placement or strong placement in the third house, or if you're Sagittarius rising, making you a Gemini descendant. Okay, let's see what the dragons want to tell you. Just for me to be drawn to the dragons for you, I do feel like there's a lot of protective energy around you. And I also feel like there's some treasure here you're wanting to protect. Bottom of the deck, it's coming out in reverse. We have the Sire of Pentacles, so King of Pentacles energy in reverse. This could have been somebody that you were in a committed relationship with. Could be somebody you share a child with potentially, or somebody that you were trying to grow something with. This could even be a business partner. I do have like something feels like formidable in the sense of this is somebody you were really working with. Your energies were really merged, maybe even financially, you know, you were mutually invested, or you shared a household, you share a child, like something foundational here. Somebody in this situation has been a bit greedy. They've only been thinking about themselves. They haven't really been considering how you're being affected, or possibly how a child's being affected in this situation, or a mutual point of interest. Okay, the child could be symbolic as well, a project, you know, a business, something you were growing together, you were invested in together, a household. Somebody was behaving in a bit of a selfish way. They didn't consider how it would rock the stability of a situation, rock the foundation of a situation. You were personally impacted. This could even be something about looking at foundational matters. This could be looking back at your upbringing, looking at your childhood, looking at that foundation, how it's affected your ability to build your foundation moving forward, maybe in relationships, or how it's just affected your sense of stability in the world. And you might have been doing a lot of look at this. You may have dealt with people, maybe even a father figure who was very controlling, very domineering, was not very supportive, okay? That's not for everybody, but it is coming in, so I want to speak to it. And it's also making me think of the aspect of the father, just as a general archetype. Father is that provider influence, okay? And I don't know why I got this. I got this coming in for some, that some have had issues with their spirituality because they've really always sort of been conditioned to believe in the God aspect, you could say, as this provider, this nurturer in the masculine aspect of expression, and really feeling like you haven't been provided for. You haven't felt that. This could have been a point of spiritual challenge. Maybe had you looking at spirituality in a new way, this coming in for somebody. I feel like that's more secondary message, but it is coming through, so I want to speak to it. For those who've been feeling cut off from their spirituality, feeling cut off from God, I'm going to bring it in. You might want to do some healing work around that, around looking at masculine aspect, looking at what your relationship was like with your father, looking at what your relationship is yourself, if you're a man, you know. Do you feel like there's been a lot of pressure put on you to be a provider? Have you felt like that was appreciated? This could also influence your outward expression of that, okay? If it was taken for granted, that may cause you to want to close down more, keep more to yourself, right? Turn the energy internally. You may have cut somebody off too. I could see this as well. I do feel like there's some need for healing around this kind of a dynamic. It could have been expressed in a relationship as well. Okay. And you may have decided to cut somebody off. I mean, you could be a woman and you could have been dealing with a man who was operating in this way, and it required you to step up to the plate more, take on that role of provider, you know. And you may have decided if it's not going to be a relationship based in equality, where we're really meeting each other in this space and building together, I'm cutting this off, you know. I'm cutting this off. I do feel like there's been something very tangible that was cut off here because it didn't really feel like a partnership. Somebody was taking more than they were giving. Somebody was potentially greedy, selfish, okay? And there could be a child involved, or very foundational childhood issues involved in this situation, family dynamics, and something has shifted here. Very well could be a family dynamic involved. I mean, we do have the 10 of Cups here. I do think that something is actively transforming right now. I mean, the northern lights have been visible in parts of the United States where they normally are not visible. So I do feel like this is something actively brewing right now, going through a transformational process. You may be doing some real deep healing with your family or your soul family, like a foundational group of friends. And there's something that's really being looked at here. So let me get some more details about this for you, Gemini. You could have been dealing with an earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, in relation to this. Okay, there's a crossing energy coming right on top of that Sire of Pentacles. Oof. Something just landed in my lap and something landed on the floor. So let's see what this is. Ooh, okay. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So what landed in my lap was the Empress. All right, so this is some good energy coming in here. And there's your energy right there, Gemini. You are the deer on the medicine wheel. So this is beautiful. And again, I'm seeing, you know, there's a fawn here. So there is this quality of either you're really working with a very young part of yourself to bring about some kind of healing, restoration. And it was 1:29:29 on the clock. I do feel like this very much has to do with a key relationship, though. There could be a child involved. I feel like there's been a lot of defenses up. You know, people are feeling a little prickly in this situation, a little bit guarded. There's a lot of imagery here about, you know, one feeling bigger in this situation and another feeling smaller. So this could be a situation where very young parts of the self are activated in a family dynamic, or where children are involved, or where you've been bringing your energies together to birth a new beginning, and it's like your baby and you're working on it together, but there's like one person who hasn't been giving as much and one person who's been hoarding all the resources or taking all the credit or taking the lead. There's been an imbalance of power in this situation. And at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of fertility here with the bunny, you know, hanging out. There is a lot of creative energy here. There is an opportunity for something to really grow here, to birth new beginnings. But what is getting in the way are the fears. And when we have too many fears in a situation, and certainly like hoarding or controlling or holding on to resources, these kind of things, they can be rooted in fear. But when we operate out of fear and we're holding on to that anxious sort of energy, we tend to have our fears multiply. And part of that rabbit medicine is calling our fears to us. So there's something that needs to shift here about perspective, about mindset. I do feel like that perspective is being gained here, though, because we see these two hawks coming in. So there's messages coming in that give a different perspective in a situation. And also you kind of pulling your energy back and being able to get a different view, really getting into your own experience here. It's also going to give you a different perspective. There's a lot of information that's coming in for you from spirit, from higher consciousness, that's going to help you navigate this territory. And I do feel like it will really pay off for you. There could be an Aries connected to this situation. With Aries and Chiron, I also feel this is really about you healing something deeply fundamental here for yourself. That's what changes everything in this situation. Okay. And Empress energy here came out upright, landed in the lap. So I feel like something's landing right in your lap, right? Comes in with Libra energy, Taurus energy. This is something really growing. This is something coming into a place of positive progression. Okay, I do feel like where you're invested in this work, there is positive progression. Okay, now I'm not going to touch on this just yet because we want to look at what's crossing this Sire of Pentacles here. I like it. Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so right now, it's sort of like that wheel of fortune is spinning round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. And I feel like it has everything to do with the action you take. So much is coming down to this. Taking the right kind of action to get that wheel to turn around in our favor. So I feel right now, it's anybody's guess how things are going to go. All I know is the wheel is spinning here. It is turning. Comes in with Sagittarian energy. You could be dealing with Sagittarius here. We also got the fixed sign energies in play. So we got Taurus, we got Leo, we got Aquarius and Scorpio. Could all be in the mix of this situation. And it also may feel a bit like that. Like my fate is in the hands of others, you know. You may have felt like you didn't have power in a situation. You may have felt like too many other people involved had a say, or the actions other people were taking were really throwing something off for you. And this was creating a complicated situation. But I do feel like some power is about to be put in your hands. It comes through getting a certain level of reflection in a situation that helps you scry the future. And I do believe that there's grace coming in here to lend you a helping hand. There's some kind of message coming in here that turns things around for you. It brings an opportunity for you to receive something that you have needed for quite some time. I feel like this is an invitation coming your way. If you open up to the experience, I do believe you can turn things around. You may be surprised that this person's extending themselves to you in this way. This could be this person who was acting quite selfishly, actually recognizing that, you know what, maybe I do need to meet you halfway, or maybe I can give a little bit more here. This person could be opening up the lines of communication to you. You might be seeing a different side of them than you've seen before. And I think whatever comes through here, it's a transforming moment, because we see with the Tower here, something was about to come crashing down. But there's a way to pull it together and it doesn't fall after all. This could be a household going through a transformation. This could be a mutual endeavor that you've been invested in with others, not collapsing because everybody pulls together and they find a way through. Where you were expecting a tower, it's not going to fall. There is a way to transform this situation, but I do feel like it's up to you to take the invitation. What I like here with the Empress energy is it does show that despite how somebody may not have valued you, you valued yourself, okay? So that's a good energy for you to hold here. I see you valued yourself, and that makes the difference. You know, you put your foot down in relation to something where you're like, no, that's unacceptable. I'm not on board with that. I don't align with that. And that may have been a very scary thing to do, especially if there was a lot rooted in your upbringing or your past experiences that told you you don't have the right to step into your power like this. But by you doing this, you really did change something fundamentally. I feel like this Wheel of Fortune is going to turn in your favor as long as you hold on to this stance and you don't allow yourself to get pulled into the fray of a dynamic that you know does not work, does not value you, does not appreciate what you bring to the table, that drains you of your resources, and where you're the one doing all the giving. I do feel like this will be transformed though, and this could be in relation to an Aquarius, a Scorpio, an Aries, okay, that preserves something where you thought it was going to come crashing down, right? One final round. What's on the other side of this Tower? Because there's something you're doing here. There's something you did, Gemini, that transforms the situation. That's what I see. Ah, beautiful. I love it. Yes, Gemini. Yes, see, you got your Ace of Pentacles. You're able to birth this new beginning. So you are getting an opportunity. You are getting an opportunity to make a new investment, turn something around. And it has everything to do with action you took with the shaman coming in here. That's that magician energy. So this is brilliant. Whatever you're doing, keep at it, man, because you're taking the right action here. And there's something you are actually rooting in your material reality that's preventing a tower from falling. I feel like finances are looking good. I feel like whatever you're building for your future is secured here. If you dealt with somebody trying to bring down your household or trying to bring down something you were building for yourself, not going to happen. Not going to happen. You have what you need to turn it around. And I love this because look, we got the sword and the stone in the background. So this is some, oh, and you got, you know, you got all the aces here, but I love how this sword comes in the stone representing that stone of destiny. This really does show that you are healing something here. You're transmuting something here. And your vision for the future, it is totally in alignment with your destiny. And this opportunity to enact your destiny, it's coming in. It's coming in very soon here. When you see where you arrive in the spring, you're going to be so surprised. So surprised. And there's some kind of healing happening here. It's beautiful with the Three of Cups, something you'll be celebrating. So if there have been family challenges, group challenges, you know, where people you really care about have been involved, I do feel like you're sort of taking the lead to get something set right here, and the actions you're taking are absolutely turning everything around, bringing a lot of growth here. Really beautiful energy. Okay, your energy coming out very strongly here. Let me do a cut of the deck, see what we got. Ah, this is so gorgeous. Look, Emperor. You got Emperor to Empress. This is beautiful. So you're securing your kingdom, and you got somebody who's building it with you, and you're on the same team. So we got Aries energy here. We got Libra energy here, Taurus energy here. This looks so good, okay? Powerful new beginning. And if there are young ones involved, I feel like they're well taken care of. Everything is coming back into a state of harmony, but it's because you really valued yourself. You knew when something wasn't right. It was built on a faulty foundation, and you took some kind of action here, or you're about to, that's transforming everything. Definitely levels you up. There's somebody here that's in it with you. This is really good energy. I love this for you. So very important alignment coming in here. Ooh, and there you are. Look at that, Sire of Swords. And you're standing on top of that stone of destiny. This transformation is secured. Really beautiful. You are so in your strength here. Okay, so I like this for you. You're definitely going to come out the other side of this with a much different reality than you entered into this portal of transformation. You got the keys to the kingdom here, and somebody to build that kingdom with. And it looks like a lot of deep healing work too. So I love it. You pulled your energy out of spaces where you weren't being valued, weren't being appreciated, weren't getting your fair share. Somebody wasn't willing to share power with you. They wanted to have control of everything, and you're finding a way through. That's pretty powerful, man. Not everybody can pull off that level of transformation. Okay, 1:40, 1:39 on the clock. Coming in for Virgo. All right. So there's some karmic cycle you're closing up here, Virgo. And of course, you're down in the South Node, so you're absolutely navigating that territory. It's very poignant for you. And there's some action you're also preparing to take. You know there's something you need to transform here. So let's see what is coming in for you, Virgo. Any strong Virgo placement? Prominent placement in the 6th house, or if you are Pisces rising, you are a Virgo descendant. Let's see what is coming in for Virgo. I'm bringing in the glow in the dark tarot for you, so I do feel like you want just the facts. Like, give it to me straight. There's illumination you're looking for here in certain situations where you do feel like there's a lot of unknown elements, like you don't have all the details. Let's see what is coming in here for Virgo. Tower. Okay. So there is something that's come down here, and there is something that you're sort of rebuilding from the ground up after it got leveled. This could be a household. This could be a business. There could be another involved in this situation. There is some kind of awakening moment happening here that is making things very real. That's what the basis of the matter is. Something surprising. Okay. Let's get some more details about this. Be dealing with a Scorpio, an Aries, and Aquarius in this situation. Or a Leo rising, Taurus rising, Libra rising. Okay, crossing energy. Okay, So whatever is going on here, you're really in your head about it. You feel held back. You might even be feeling like a little bit of the why me energy around this. You may feel like you're just in a situation where you have no idea what action you should take. So I feel like this is something surprising coming in that you haven't been anticipating. And there's something you're learning about here, right? There's some kind of information coming in here. You're learning about something here. And it's making you feel a little bit unstable. This could be financially unstable. There could be some kind of shakeup going on in the home. There could be something involving a child connected to this. And it's got you up in your head. You're not quite sure what you can do. You may feel like you don't have the ability to change your circumstances at all. That you kind of just have to accept it as it is. But with the Eight of Swords coming in, this is all in your head. Like, you're not really stuck. You're not really trapped. There is a way to navigate this, okay? So let's see what this is about. Some of this could be your confidence that's holding you back. You may not feel confident. You may not feel confident taking an action because you feel like you don't have all the details. Like there's something you need to learn or be put in the loop of before you'll feel confident taking an action. This almost fell away, but I caught it last minute. So this could be a detail. Ooh, I like this, okay? See? Hold tight. You're going to get the power to take the action you need to take. You have more power than you think in this situation. And this is going down right now. It's almost like you started to feel powerless in a situation, and then it's giving me the impression that like you get it together. You know, I don't know if this is like you giving yourself a pep talk and saying, "Come on, like get it together. You gotta, you know, recognize there's something you can do here to change this situation." This is an Ace of Wands, so there is some kind of action that you need to take here. And I do feel like you might have been feeling sorry for yourself recently, feeling like you didn't have the ability to take an action, and it almost got the better of you. But I feel like you're rallying your energy here, and you're like, wait a minute, no, I got the power to do something here. I do see you taking an action. This is upon you right now, bottom of the deck, yep. You're getting recalibrated. I like this. I was worried there for a minute, Virgo. You are recognizing it's your world. You can make it what you want to be, okay? But you do need to really consider how you're going to move forward here. And there you got the power in your hands. I feel like what you're leaving behind is the way that you've taken an action in the past, you know? Or you might have thought you were going to take a particular action in the past, and now you're changing your mind. Maybe because of something you learned, you have a different perspective. And that's also giving you a different view about what you want to see for your future, okay? So there could be something shocking coming your way, some kind of information coming your way, news coming your way. It surprises you, and it shakes up everything that you believed about how you were going to be moving forward in the future. You have a totally different perspective, and you're like confused initially. So this could be like soon to come, or you could already be moving through this, but I feel like you go up in your head and you're a little bit confused, like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? I feel so stuck. And then you decide, maybe I need to like look into this. I feel like you decide you're going to look for the information you need to put you in the loop so you can make an informed choice, right? So it's like you're choosing to educate yourself about a situation that maybe you were scared to look at because you were afraid what you were going to find. And yet by looking into something, looking into a matter more deeply, you actually get the empowerment you need to take an action that opens your road and gets you looking at your future in a much different way. But there's something about your abandoning an action you were going to take in favor of heading in a different direction. Whatever this is, you got the whole world in your hands. So you're really dreaming up a new way forward here. Okay, what is this coming in for Virgo? Give me more details about this. What is this coming in for Virgo? Ace of Wands is a fall timing card. So the opportunity for you to step up into your power is right here, man. It's nigh. I think it does require you to have a real different view about what's possible for your future, though. And that's what may kind of like put you up in your head for a moment. This might require you to really step up into your power, and you might be a little intimidated by that. There might be things you tell yourself. You might be too critical of yourself, Virgo. You might tell yourself all the reasons why I'm not ready to step into this, and it's a bunch of BS, and you need to really like uproot those thoughts in your consciousness. Because the only thing holding you back, I see here, is fear. It's not even anything based in reality. You got some kind of power in your hand to transform your reality here and move forward in whatever way you desire. If you just, you know, recognize that you hold that power. And there's something about you've been afraid to look into something because you've been afraid of what you might find. And then you get the courage to actually investigate and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been holding myself back for nothing. That's what I got, okay? I've been holding myself back for nothing. And that's what really makes you realize, well, forget about heading in that direction. I'm going to go in this direction. That's what it feels like. There's some kind of game-changing moment here. Ooh, okay. That's the truth. Look at that. Ace of Swords. You got Frog Rock. You got the Spear of Blue. I feel like you taking an action on this truth, what you discover here, what you learn, being willing to abandon an old course of action and head in this new direction, knowing you got what it takes to step into this, this brings you some kind of victory, something really to celebrate by the time you arrive in the winter time here. You'll see something go down in the winter time that really is a crowning moment for you. Like, I did that. I do feel like there was something that came to a close or is currently closing here that was really difficult. There could have been a Scorpio involved in this situation. That could be something that's going down right now in Scorpio season. That could be a Taurus connected to this situation or some kind of outside authority that's had too much, it's kind of coming through as like rulership over your life and your choices for too long that you're sort of casting aside. This could even be like a corporation, like a particular job you've had that's really been holding you back from your full potential. Whatever this is, it's on its way out, and I feel like rebirth energy is on the other side. Whatever this is, it really threw you out of balance. I mean, I think that financially, it created a lot of instability or uncertainty. It also kept you really in your head, unable to ground something in your reality. This could have even been a connection that had your emotions all over the place. There was some factor in this situation that just, it wasn't even in harmony with you. I mean, this energy is coming up in reverse. Queen of Swords in reverse. This is your energy. It's also air sign energy. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, okay? So this is like relationships have felt really off. Something has felt imbalanced. Something hasn't felt fair. Something's felt unstable. The communication has been blocked. It's felt cold. It's felt distant. There may have even been issues in your social circle, you know, people you needed to distance yourself from because every time you were interacting with these people, everything just became more unstable. You felt more confused. There's been a lot you've been sorting through here. It's also just you really diving deep down into that South Node energy. You know, you've been trying to balance something out and you've been feeling like you've been a little caught up in a karmic cycle and you're thinking, what does it take? What does it take to turn this around? And I think a lot of it, you know, the Queen of Swords, she has a truth, right? But this is in reverse. So it's like, this goes back to, there's some detail. There's some detail. There's some kind of information you need. There's something you need to learn that's going to change your perspective. You've been afraid to look at it. But your unwillingness to look at it is the very thing that's been causing imbalance in this situation. And I think you're going to find the courage to look at it, and that's going to change the way you move forward. Crossing energy. Yep. You're going to have the strength to look at it. And that's what's going to change the way you move forward. There could be a Leo connected to this. There could be an ex of yours connected to this, all right? But I do see you having the courage to look in the belly of the beast, and you're finding the strength to transform this situation so you can bring about that balance of the Empress energy here. Again, there could be a Taurus connected to this. There could be a Libra connected to this. Something's been really imbalanced. I do feel like you have the strength to bring balance here. But there's communication that's needed in this situation. And there's a need to understand also that there's been some kind of wounding here. I always look at this imagery and it reminds me of the story of the lion with the thorn in its paw. And it's like the only way to heal what's been wounded here is with a certain gentleness. You notice that Empress there is not being aggressive. She's just trying to encourage the wounded parts to have their say. Like, come forward, communicate. What do you need to communicate about here? I'm willing to look at it. I'm willing to really dive into this. So there is something that's being addressed here. This could even be with a mother figure, like some kind of healing happening here. But it's related to past matters. Past matters potentially that have already come to a close, but emotionally was incomplete because there never was really the willingness to look deeply at something because of the way it gets someone caught up in their head every time they got closer to this, okay? How will this turn out if Virgo has the strength to actually look at this and sort this out? I mean, I know you have the strength to overcome some kind of past challenge here. I do see you rising to that challenge, and that's going to be the very thing that brings about a new balance and empowerment to your life. Could be a King of Wands as the basis of the matter in relation to this. Fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Crossing energy, justice. I like this. Whatever this is, it does bring about some kind of balance. Does bring about some kind of justice here. Libra energy connected there. Okay, what is the judgment call on this with justice? See, and I see you got your truth up right there, you see? This could be a sign of when justice is coming through. Something has been unjust. It's about to be made right. There's some kind of justice that comes through in the winter in relation to this matter. Okay? Woo! And it brings some kind of healing, rising above the challenges of the past, a meeting of minds. There's some kind of healing that happens here. This is positive. Okay? So you're getting back on the same page with somebody, maybe that you've been distanced from. Okay, this is good. And we got a Queen of Wands here. Okay, again, fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. So I see two really independent energies here because we had the King of Wands and we had the Queen of Wands. You may have strong fire in your chart. We got Leo indications out here pretty powerfully. Okay. Also Aries indications, because I think of Libra, Descendant, and Aries comes up there. Also the Chiron energy. Okay. So there's something that's being balanced out here. I feel like you're two very independent energies. This may have been a bone of contention in the past. Like, this could be a really dynamic connection. Okay, whatever kind of connection it is. It doesn't have to be a romantic connection. It can be a family connection. It could be a connection you have with a friend or somebody you were working with. Whatever this is, the sticking point or what's been problematic is that each of you are highly individual. Each of you have your own set views about things. Both of you are very fiery. Both of you like to lead. You're both fire forward, you know. It doesn't matter. Even if you are a Virgo sun sign, you still act out of your fire. You got to have strong fire in your chart somewhere. Or you're dealing with somebody who pulls the fire out of you. You know what I'm saying? So both of you have been in this very like independent, very set in stone sort of way of operating in this connection. And maybe even from such a position of like, it's my way or the highway, and maybe argumentative words as well, just very intractable. And there's a way that you both can shine in your own right. You both can hold your power independently, and you can bring it together in mutually respectful ways where there can be a transformation in the situation that brings about balance, okay? It brings about balance. It brings some kind of new beginning that's aligned with the truth, not just your truth, but also the truth of this person, the truth of who you both are as individuals. Because I feel like there's something here that can't be compromised, you know? You need to share power in this situation. It can't just be one person holding all the power, or one person having the spotlight while the others in the shadows. Like, there really needs to be a full recognition. There's real strong Leo energy in this reading, okay? So with real strong Leo energy in the mix, like, it could be that somebody here really likes having the spotlight, right? They want it to be all about them. And it can't be about that. There has to be a way that you can work together. And there needs to be some kind of recognition around how there has been inequities around that in the past. And that might mean opening up like some really difficult conversations, or it could also be looking at the ways that you've allowed yourself to be put in that position where you accepted less than what felt right to you. And you didn't want to disrupt things. So you didn't bring your fire forward. You didn't speak on your own behalf. You didn't really represent what you were feeling, and then maybe acted passive aggressively. There could be passive aggressive energy in this situation from lack of communicating about what was really bothering you in the situation, or where you felt the inequity was, or what didn't feel right. And that's what was keeping everything in this like stuck mode where nothing could move forward, and where you just felt like you were helpless to create a change in this situation. But it's like to have the courage to communicate the truth about what you're really feeling, what you feel you deserve in this situation, what you feel needs to be aired out. Having the courage to be vulnerable about those things can be the transforming factor. And I do see that it's successful. And just as I say that, Ted comes barging in here. Just a minute. Just a minute, Ted. Do you need to go potty? Do you need to go potty? Okay, well, I don't have your bed back here, so you need to go on out for a minute. All right. Okay. So it could be a situation like that. Like, I thought you didn't want any part of this. I thought you wanted to pull out of this situation. You weren't invested in this situation. Now you want back in. Now you want back in. You're going to just barge your way back in. So there might be some things that need to be ironed out there, right? Where it's like a real meeting of minds to understand that something about the dynamic has been really intractable, where somebody just wants things their way, on their terms, when they feel it's right. You know, they want to barge in, they want to take over everything. That's not going to work. But I do feel like you can get back on the same page with this, okay? This is building together, and there's a lot that grows out of it. So this could be like a family dynamic. This could be also, you know, somebody that you're in relationship with, and you really want to build a solid future together. You're really focused on commitment. You want something that endures here. But the only way this is going to work is if you bring your energies together and you really recognize that it's something you are doing together, that you both have an equal part in this. And you both need to feel valued and respected in that situation. This could also be getting into some kind of business, you know, building something on a business level. And that even could be like where you work. Maybe you weren't being appreciated by the company you worked for. And there needs to be a new way of moving forward here, either by getting a new position with a company that will appreciate you, will invest in you, does see what you have to offer, or within your current dynamic. You know, there could be something that really does transform, all right? If you're building a business for yourself and you have a business partner, this could be really investing in a way where each party involved in this situation feels recognized for what they bring to the table. Whatever it is, it pays off. I mean, this is a lot of financial stability. This looks good. And if this is a family dynamic, something's really getting solidified here. So I like this for you. This is positive. This is positive. But I do see in the past it wasn't like that. This is like a lot of financial fluctuation, instability. It's been really difficult. And it also seems like it came in with a lot of turmoil, like a lot of emotional instability, a lot of troubles that you were trying to navigate, a lot of stresses. He's trying to push his way through. You see, you've been dealing with somebody like that, very forceful in their negotiations, and there needs to be a different way to move forward here. But I feel like it really has to do with you taking the lead here and maybe communicating about some things that you weren't willing to communicate about before. But it feels like it's really informed by you discovering something, learning something that you were not aware of before. And that's what is really the key, because it changes how you're showing up. This is not a situation where you can like force your way, barge your way into the situation. And somebody here has been doing that, where it's been all about what they want, what they need, and they've been really lacking a certain recognition about how somebody else has been affected in this situation. It hasn't been fair. So I see there is fairness coming into this dynamic. And it has everything to do with sharing of power, right? This isn't about one person holding all the power here. There's got to be a way to compromise. And cut of the deck to cap this off, because I know he's going to try to make it through again. I see it. 9 of Swords. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of worry and anxiety around this. But you just got to recognize, like, the old way has come to an end. And maybe that's part of it, is really looking at what happened back there. And it's really rough to have to acknowledge it, to talk about it, to express those difficult feelings, to bring all that up, to get it cleared out. It's a lot. But if you look, the 9 plus the 10, that comes to 19, and that equals the sun, you know? There's some new light that can come through the situation that brings about a renewal here, and success on the other side of what may be a difficult conversation that, I mean, I'll just be honest, you probably got your like stomach tied up in knots around it. There's like a lot of anxiety around this. There's a lot of fears around this, but I feel like a lot of what you fear is not even true. It's not even true, but you won't recognize that until you take the risk to find out. Okay. Let's see what's behind this 10 of Swords if you take the risk. Look at that. 2 of Cups. Do you see? You can rise above your fears of the past, and you can find yourself coming into beautiful alignment. Okay, well, I'm going to go and let Mr. Ted in so we can come into alignment and he can get his food, because I know that that's what he wants. He wants some more munchies. So I hope this helps. And looks like there's some good things happening here. There's things set in motion. It's interesting territory we're all moving through, but have faith, okay? Face your fears. Everything you want is on the other side of your fear. And if you take the action, I think you'll be surprised how it pays off. Godspeed.